The world was young, and the gods looked upon the earth with displeasure. Humanity had grown numerous, and with their numbers came chaos. Their cities, once small and peaceful, had expanded, filling the air with the constant noise of laughter, shouting, and quarrels. In the heavens, the gods, particularly Enlil, the god of wind and earth, grew weary of the ceaseless clamor. He sat upon his high throne, his brows furrowed, his gaze darkened as he observed the humans below. "Their noise has become unbearable," he grumbled to the other gods. "They disturb the peace of the divine realms." A divine council was called. The gods gathered around Enlil, debating what should be done with humanity. Anu, the sky god, spoke softly. "Perhaps they can be reasoned with. They do not understand the disturbance they cause." But Enlil, his patience worn thin, would hear none of it. "Reason has failed us. These creatures are too many, too loud. It is time to start anew," he declared. He proposed a great flood, one that would wash away the noisy, uncontrollable humans, leaving the earth quiet once more. Reluctantly, the other gods agreed. Though most of the gods sided with Enlil, Enki, the god of wisdom and water, could not bear the thought of seeing all of humanity wiped away. He had grown fond of humans, admiring their resilience and ingenuity. He knew that while their noise was bothersome, they were also capable of great kindness and courage. That night, as the stars flickered above the earth, Enki descended in secret to the home of Atrahasis, a wise and good-hearted man. The god appeared to Atrahasis in a dream, speaking softly. "Atrahasis, the gods plan to destroy humanity with a flood. You must build an ark, large enough to save yourself, your family, and the animals of the earth." Atrahasis awoke in a sweat, his heart pounding. He had always been devout, honoring the gods with offerings and prayers. But this dream was unlike any he had ever experienced. The voice of Enki echoed in his mind, filled with urgency. Atrahasis whispered to himself, "A flood? The gods wish to destroy us all?" His mind raced. He could feel the weight of the decision before him. He knew he had little time, and the task was monumental, but he trusted in Enki's wisdom. He gathered his family and explained, "We must build an ark, or we shall perish." Atrahasis and his family began constructing the ark immediately. Day and night they worked tirelessly, cutting wood, hammering planks, and sealing the seams with tar to make it waterproof. His neighbors watched in confusion. "What madness is this, Atrahasis?" they called out. "Why build such a vessel in the dry season?" But Atrahasis, bound by Enki's warning, kept his silence. As the days passed, the structure of the ark took shape. A towering wooden vessel, large enough to house his family and pairs of every animal. As the ark neared completion, Atrahasis sat by the fire one night, his hands trembling from exhaustion. His wife approached, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You've done so much," she said softly. "But what if the flood never comes?" Atrahasis looked up at her, his eyes filled with both hope and fear. "I don't know," he admitted. "But Enki's warning felt so real. I cannot ignore it." His wife sighed, nodding. "Then we must be ready for whatever comes." Enki had told Atrahasis to bring pairs of animals onto the ark, and so Atrahasis ventured into the fields and forests, gathering every creature he could find. He herded the animals onto the ark, 2 by 2, lions, deer, birds, snakes, all together in the vessel that would soon be their salvation. His neighbors, once dismissive, now looked on in wonder and concern. "Perhaps the gods truly are angry," they whispered among themselves. Dark clouds began to gather on the horizon, far sooner than anyone had expected. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, and the first drops of rain splattered against the earth. Atrahasis stood before the ark, his heart heavy. The gods had not delayed. The flood was coming. He turned to his family, his voice steady despite the storm. "It's time. We must board the ark." The sky darkened and the rain came harder, turning the ground to mud. Thunder rumbled ominously, as if the gods themselves were warning the earth of what was to come. The rain became a torrential downpour, drenching the land and swelling the rivers. It was no ordinary storm. This was the flood Enlil had unleashed, the water rising quickly, covering villages and fields in its relentless advance. From his place in the heavens, Enlil watched with satisfaction. "Let the noise cease," he muttered. "Let the earth find peace again." Lightning cracked across the sky, and the floodwaters surged higher, swallowing entire cities. Inside the ark, Atrahasis and his family huddled together, listening to the deafening roar of the storm outside. The ark rocked violently, tossed by the massive waves that crashed against its wooden hull. The animals stirred uneasily, their instinctive fear palpable. Atrahasis closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to Enki. "Guide us through this storm, wise Enki. Do not abandon us now." The rain showed no mercy, but within the safety of the ark, they endured. For days and nights, the storm raged on. The world outside the ark was submerged in water, a vast, endless ocean where there had once been land. But at long last, the rains began to slow, and the furious winds calmed. Atrahasis opened the hatch of the ark and peered out. The floodwaters had not yet receded, but he could see the first glimmer of hope. The sky was clearing. "The worst is over," he said quietly, his voice filled with relief. After what felt like an eternity, the ark came to rest atop a mountain peak. Atrahasis released a dove into the sky, watching as it flew across the waters seeking land. When it returned with an olive branch in its beak, his heart leapt with joy. "Land," he breathed. "There is land again." The family gathered on the deck of the ark, their eyes fixed on the horizon. Slowly but surely the waters were receding, and the earth was coming back into view. When the floodwaters had fully receded, Atrahasis and his family stepped out of the ark, their feet touching dry ground for the first time in what felt like ages. Around them, the animals ventured out into the open air, blinking in the sunlight. Atrahasis knelt on the earth and offered a prayer of thanks to Enki. "You saved us," he whispered. "You spared us from destruction." His family joined him in the prayer, their hearts filled with gratitude. In the heavens, Enlil looked down upon the survivors. At first, he was furious that humans had survived the flood. "How could this be?" he demanded. But Enki stepped forward, calm and unshaken. "I saved Atrahasis and his family because they are good and wise. They deserve a chance to rebuild." Enlil, seeing the devotion and humility of Atrahasis, softened. He realized that not all humans were noisy and disruptive. Some, like Atrahasis, were worth saving. Moved by Enki's words and Atrahasis' devotion, Enlil made a decision. "I will not bring such destruction upon the earth again," he declared. "Humanity will have its chance to grow, but they must learn to live in balance with the world." Enki nodded in agreement. The gods had learned that while they had the power to destroy, they also had the responsibility to nurture. They could no longer ignore the voices of the worthy. Atrahasis and his family rebuilt their lives, grateful for the second chance they had been given. The land was renewed, and with time, humanity flourished once more. But the story of the flood and the wisdom of Atrahasis was passed down through generations, serving as a reminder of the power of the gods and the importance of living in harmony with the world. Atrahasis became a symbol of survival, wisdom, and the bond between humanity and the divine.